This is the NCN 6 o'clock news. The East Coast Demerara Cleanup Committee has sent a letter to stakeholder agencies on improvement of drainage and irrigation in that district. These include the Office of the President, the National Drainage and Irrigation Authority, the Civil Defense Commission, and the Region 4 RDC. The notice is intended to identify areas that need to be urgently resolved as it relates to drainage and irrigation in several East Coast villages. It was developed at two meetings held by residents of the Beehive, Clonbrook, Arnsgrove, Two Friends, Dutch for Hope, and Lowland villages along the coast on January 4 and 6. A separate letter was sent to the relevant authority regarding garbage in these villages. Mobile service provider Digicel is offering its staff volunteer severance packages as it moves to reduce its workforce across markets in the Caribbean. The company told a regional newspaper that this is necessary given the challenging economic environment large companies are being forced to deal with. More on this Sharda Lal report.
The implications of the world economic crisis are beginning to take a toll on the Caribbean. Earlier today, telecommunications company Digicel introduced a voluntary separation program for staff across 23 markets as it targets a 10% workforce reduction. The company says it is designed to align the organization and overall cost structure with the evolving global economic conditions. The voluntary separation program will allow full and part-time employees who may be considering a career change to leave the company voluntarily while receiving financial support and benefits. The packages will include health coverage, pro-rata bonuses, career transition assistance, and accelerated payments for stock options, but does not apply to newly launched markets. According to a report in the Bermuda Royal Gazette, employees will have 2 weeks to decide on whether or not to accept the packages. The report notes that only if this process is unsuccessful in achieving the necessary staff reductions will redundancies have to be made. Digicel Group CEO Colm Delves says the company is at a stage where it needs to reassess its organizational structure and fully capture operational efficiencies. In light of the global economic downturn, he says large companies have to ensure that there is an efficient structure to strengthen financial flows and maintain long-term plans. Digicel's total investments across 31 markets worldwide have exceeded US $3.4 billion in 2008. Reporting for the 6 o'clock news, I'm Sharda Lal.
A Blankenberg businesswoman and her sister has been attacked and robbed of $1 million by two armed masked men around 1825 hours yesterday. Reports are that Bhagwanti Surshpal and her sister Kamwati Surshpal were in the process of closing their grocery store when they were confronted by two men. The men then held them at gunpoint and took them into the store where they tied them up before beating them about their bodies with the firearms. The two men, who then demanded cash from the two victims, took the cash that was in the drawer in the building before escaping. Labour Minister Manzoor Nadir says Guyana must review working hours in the industrial and tourism sectors to compete with the world. He disclosed that Cabinet has given the go-ahead to review the operations of workers with regard to productivity. Nicole Telford has that story.
The Labour Ministry intends to take legislation to the National Assembly to review the hours of work for factories in the business sector. Labour Minister Manzoor Nadir believes that 24 hours operations of some businesses should be adapted. This, he says, will include a shift system, adding that some factories are only producing at a third of their capacity, and opening for longer hours would increase production.
You also have, if we're going to be a globally competitive country in terms of our goods and services, we are going to have to allow 24-hour operations for some businesses. Call centers can't shut down. Some factories can't only operate for 8-hour shift.
Yeah. He noted that issues of employee burnout and exploitation will also be addressed.
Tell industry, we have to review also the working hours in the commercial sector, because as more and more females come into the workforce and both parents in the workforce, people will need time outside of 9 to 5 to do their other business.
Minister Nadir said the reform in laws to address working hours will be confronted in full during consultation with the tripartite committee. Nicole Telford, NCN Morning News.
Commissioner of Police Henry Green has dismissed claims by the political opposition that his appointment was unconstitutional. Green says he has a job to do, and so does the PNCR, and pointed queries of the main opposition party to the Police Service Commission. Nacasia Logan sat down in an exclusive interview with the top cop today.
The People's National Congress had said that the appointment of Henry Green as Commissioner of Police was unconstitutional. But the Commissioner, in his first interview since the comment, insists he is not uncomfortable with the statement made by the PNCR.
I have not appointed myself. And if it is felt by the PNCR that my appointment is unconstitutional, that's a matter for them to take up with the relevant authorities.
The top cop also noted that he has a job to do, and so does the People's National Congress. There have also been questions surrounding the appointment of the controversial Steve Murray as Assistant Commissioner of Police. But Green insists Murray's appointment was not his decision.
Appointments in the police service are made by the Police Service Commission. And Mr. Murray been appointed to his position by the Police Service Commission.
Mr. Henry Green, who was confirmed to the position of Commissioner of Police on December 31, says that he would like to see peace, goodwill, and rest given to the people of Guyana. For the NCN 6 o'clock news, I am Nacasia Logan.
Police are investigating the circumstances surrounding a quantity of narcotics found in a house at Port Kaituma in Region 1 at about 15 hours yesterday. Police found a quantity of cocaine and marijuana, along with a 12-gauge cartridge and a .32 round. 2 women and a man have since been arrested and are in police custody assisting with the investigations. The work of the school's welfare department of the Ministry of Education has been boosted with a donation of 5 computers from Educare. According to Welfare Coordinator, the newly reformed department will this year recruit more welfare officers, improve school attendance, and tackle teenage pregnancies and suicide. Natasha Smith has more.
The computers are intended to assist the Welfare Department in information processing as it relates to the work of the department. Child labor is one of the main focuses of Educare, hence the collaboration with the Welfare Department as it affects school attendance. Project Coordinator Edward Denham says the computers will help to keep track of individual students.
It is that type of activity that these computers can contribute and help the school welfare service to undertake, is keeping good records on vulnerable children, at-risk children, and making sure that they are in school, keeping the data in a coherent fashion, and then being able to get a good picture, because development has to be driven by information.
Meanwhile, Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Education, Pulandar Kandai, says he is deeply concerned with child labor and its impact on the education sector. He says the development of a child does not only rest with the Ministry of Education, but other stakeholders.
You know, many children are admitted and registered, they do not complete. Sometimes the primary cycle, more so the secondary cycle. They're left out there to the whims and fancies of all sorts of exploitation. And we have no shortage of that in our country. So we are extremely pleased to be part of this, and we are extremely pleased to receive these computers as a means, a facility to promote our work in the Ministry of Education.
The Educare project is funded by the United States Department of Labor and is executed by partners of the Americas International. Educare, through several programs, work towards the elimination of child labor and increasing school attendance. Reporting for the 6 o'clock news, Natasha Smith.